This is a OnePlus 12, and this is a OnePlus 12R. This phone costs $899, and this phone costs $499. Feels like both are OnePlus's attempt at regaining like the flagship killer title. So in today's real day in life review, we're going to be testing them out in a lot of crucial scenarios, and we're going to see what you lose when you switch from the OnePlus 12 to the 12R. Also, this is Turkish coffee. It's one of my favorite types of coffee, and the first camera test is going to be me pouring it. So the first difference is that the OnePlus 12 has a slightly larger display. It's 6.82 inches versus 6.78 inches. And it also has more pixels per inch at 510 pixels per inch versus 450. Both look really sharp and are very fast, but if you're really looking, this phone definitely looks a little bit sharper, and it also has a higher max brightness, which is really nice for outdoor use. And the build of the phones is also a little different. The 12 has this really interesting, like almost marble-like back, but I actually prefer the 12R a little bit more because I feel like this is so smooth that it's slippery. It would like slip out of my hand or pocket, whereas this has a little bit more texture even though it's just glass. Both look really nice though, and they both have a very similar camera design, although the 12's camera is bigger, and there are also spec differences between them that we'll test throughout the day. Beautiful day in New York. It's still winter, but there's a little bit of sun going on, and that's actually clutch for the regular OnePlus 12 because it has a bit of a brighter screen in comparison to the 12R, and in normal environments you don't really notice that, but when you're outside, this is really where that difference comes alive. On the way to a spot in the city that we have never been before, inspired by the good weather, and also the fact that the OnePlus 12 has a telephoto lens that the OnePlus 12R doesn't, and I want to compare the two. Another difference is that the OnePlus 12R has a 5500 mAh battery, and the OnePlus 12 has a 5400 mAh battery. So the OnePlus 12 has a dedicated telephoto setup, so you can get 3x optical zoom, which is worse than other flagships on the market that we've tested, like the S24 Ultra or even the Pixel 8 Pro, but it's better than the regular OnePlus 12, which doesn't have that. And at 10x zoom, you can really see the difference here. This is like barely usable. Now again, the price anchor is $499, which is a pretty significant price difference, and I think for that price, this actually has pretty good cameras. They both have 50 megapixel main sensor cameras, but the actual sensor is different. So on paper, if you hear like, oh, 50 megapixel, I think it'd be easy to assume that it's the same, but it's not. It's a different sensor, and we're gonna test that as we get on this ferry right now. It's just such a beautiful day in New York. I'm just getting all the serotonin from it. And also, they both have ultra wide. So OnePlus 12 has a higher megapixel ultra wide, 48 megapixels versus 8. So again, pretty big camera differences, honestly. Like I think if you were a user optimizing for like great camera, you're honestly probably going to buy a Samsung or a Pixel phone. But if you were looking at this price range OnePlus, then I would say the OnePlus 12 is better than the 12R. We're on the ferry right now. This is definitely one of the coolest things I've done in New York recently. And as we're testing out the cameras, something that's super evident is the fact that the OnePlus 12 has a dedicated telephoto lens actually really matters, especially for video mode. It goes 3x optically, and then it maxes out at 18x, which uses a combination of optical and digital. And while it's not the sharpest thing in the world, the OnePlus 12R maxes out at 10x, and it's almost unusable. Important to mention here that there is a significant price difference, but if you're all about the camera and the zoom quality, then the OnePlus 12 definitely has the edge. The overall best zoom camera that I've ever used is in a recent day in life video, the S24 Ultra, but that's also several $100s more expensive. So it feels like OnePlus really prioritized like main camera, primary camera photos, and then gave the 12 zoom in case you need it. Another thing that I've noticed on the ferry is that the 12's finish is super shimmery. Like they added kind of a glitter, and when it hits the direct sunlight, it's really evident. We're pulling up to Governor's Island right now, so this timing was perfect for the take. Most people use their smartphone cameras to either take pictures of themselves or take pictures of other people or scenery. So test number one is going to be a portrait mode shot of me taken by Zach. One thing that we both noticed is when you're taking a photo or a video on both these phones, on the viewfinder as you're taking it, it does not look that great. Actually, it kind of looks low res. And then when it processes, a lot of the detail comes back. So it either has excellent post-processing or they're showing like a lower res version to save on processing power on the phone, which is interesting. That definitely is the case on other phones as well, like on the iPhone or the Pixel. Once you take a photo, it often looks better after the processing, but the contrast here is very real. It's 3:44 p.m. The next shuttle comes at 4 p.m. So we have a little time to kill. We're in this like art gallery area. An important note that is different between these, that's more of a subtle difference, is the water resistance rating. The OnePlus 12 has an IP65 rating versus IP54 on the regular 12R. So if you're planning to use your phone in an environment where it rains a lot or there's more of a chance of it getting submerged, the 12 is definitely a little bit more durable. Another difference is actually in the camera tech. The front-facing camera is higher megapixel on the 12, and also just like the overall exposure dynamic range looks better on the 12. And the OnePlus 12R also gets a macro dedicated lens that's only 2 megapixels, but it helps with some depth information versus the 12 that doesn't have that. But because its primary sensor is so good, honestly, they look very similar for close-up shots. For traveling a lot or even a day trip, another thing that you really notice is how heavy or light your phone is. And there is a little bit of a weight difference here, but it's not huge. The OnePlus 12 is 220 grams and the 12R is 207 grams. So it's a little bit lighter and you feel that difference, but if I wasn't holding both of them at the same time, I wouldn't notice. It's 9:54 p.m. I'm going to a tech community mixer right now, and the overall conclusion on these phones is that, honestly, I feel like OnePlus has done a lot right here in regaining that flagship killer status. The main drawback that I see is that it has less software updates, 4 and 3 years respectively, than other flagship phones, which I think is important for longevity, and the camera performance is worse, but for the price, I feel like there is a lot of value here. If you want to check out another day in life, you can click right here, and I will catch you in the next one, hopefully. Hope you have an incredible day. Bye.